More corpses recovered from clash between youths and soldiers in Abonema, Rivers State. Atiku Abubakar's son-in-law released. PDP party stalwart Tanimu Turaki arrested by EFCC. In international news, U.S. House of Representatives tightens news around President Trump. And in sports, Mikel Obi left out of Super Eagles squad for final of 2019 AFCON qualifiers.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olasuji. More corpses are being recovered in Abonema, Rivers State, and villagers say they want no soldiers at this weekend's governorship and state assembly elections. Tensions are still high in the area, but soldiers and youth had a bloody clash during last weekend's presidential and national assembly elections. Last week, thousands of women from different parts of the local government areas carried placards and marched to the palace of the Amayanabo of Abonema, His Royal Majesty King Bobo Bob Manu, to protest against the development. The women angrily demanded that soldiers be removed from the area before Saturday's governorship and state assembly elections. They said the aspirations of any politician is not worth the lives of their children. The Save Our Souls rally was led by Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Tonya Briggs Onoyede, who said the clash between the youths and soldiers were fueled by the killing of a Nigerian army lieutenant. A source in the presidency has confirmed that President Muhammadu Buhari has not sacked Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele as rumored on social media. The rumor says Emefiele had received a letter from the president yesterday to vacate his office. That story has been debunked by the presidency. The source says the president doesn't have the power to sack the CBN governor without the approval of the National Assembly. The president is required to secure a two-thirds majority of the Senate in order to remove a CBN governor. Emefiele's tenure at CBN will end in June, when he should have spent 5 years on the job. At that time, the president could decide to reappoint him with the support of the National Assembly. The son-in-law of Atiku Abubakar has been released by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Babalele Abdullahi, also finance director of Atiku's group of companies, was seized on Monday by EFCC in what the commission said was an investigation of alleged money laundering. As Abdullahi was being released, PDP campaign organization's Deputy Director General of Administration, Barrister Tanimu Turaki, was arrested by EFCC. A party official charged that the EFCC is holding Turaki, a senior advocate of Nigeria, because of the major role he is playing in the suit against Buhari's victory. PDP spokesman Kola Ologbodiyan said in a statement that Turaki's arrest and detention is part of what he calls a grand plot by the Buhari presidency to use state apparatus of power to intimidate PDP leaders. He said this is an attempt to scuttle PDP's determination to litigate Buhari's victory. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, has alleged that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, colluded with some of the electoral officers to work against President Buhari during last weekend's presidential election. He made the charge in New York during a town hall meeting at which he thanked Akwa Ibom people for their vote for the president. He said the party was not in New York to lament that the party's mandate was stolen, but to reaffirm the party's commitments to democracy. APC governorship candidate in the state, Sima Ekere, appealed to the people to go out and vote during the upcoming governorship and state assembly elections on Saturday. In other news, two Zamfara communities are in turmoil today in aftermath of an attack by bandits in Shinkafi and Anka local government areas. The attacks came barely 24 hours after Governor Abdulaziz Yari vowed to deal with bandits in the state. But the latest attacks happened after he had ordered security agencies to deal ruthlessly with bandits. The bandits are reported to have moved in high numbers on motorcycles as they attacked the community and Damjiba in the local government areas. Army spokesman Sharad Daji said information and casualties and extent of damage in the attacks will be released later. The Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, CACOR, has commended the bench warrant issued against 4 Akwa Ibom state officials last weekend by a federal high court in Lagos. This follows the FCC's 1.4 billion naira charges against the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Paul Osoro. The court's coordinator for media and publications, Adegboyega Otunuga, said in a statement that effective corruption in the country includes a ridiculous level of poverty and underdevelopment, even though the country is blessed in human and natural resources. He said corruption among government officials and ordinary citizens has led to a moral breakdown in the country. The Raw Materials Research and Development Council has announced a comprehensive online platform to connect Nigerian raw material suppliers and buyers. The platform is being built by a digital marketing agency based outside Nigeria. The agency is a federal government's one supervised by the Ministry of Science and Technology. It has the mandate to promote the development and utilization of Nigeria's industrial raw materials. With this project, the agency will be able to ensure local raw materials adopted and consumed by industries and would also provide a complete support system for buyers and investors to procure raw materials or invest in Nigeria. This will generate revenue for the country. Through the new online platform, local manufacturers and producers will be connected digitally to domestic and international buyers. On a last election note, the Integrity Friends and for Truth and Peace Initiative, an accredited election observer group, has called for security agencies to give special attention to all red line states during and after Saturday's election to ensure protection of lives and property. The group's executive director and lead observer, Livingstone, made the plea in Abuja on Monday when he addressed journalists. The organization had deployed nearly 800 observers to 26 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, during the presidential election last week. Wiche says security agencies should beef up security networks nationwide to contain any post-election violence. Coming up, African stories, U.S. President Trump renews Zimbabwe sanctions by a year. And later in international news, U.S. House of Representatives intensifies investigation of the president. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. U.S. President Donald Trump has renewed sanctions against Zimbabwe by another year. Trump said on Monday in a notice announcing the national emergency declared in executive order that Zimbabwe's new government policies continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to U.S. foreign policy. The one-year extension comes despite calls by African leaders, including South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, for the sanctions to be lifted to give the country a chance to recover from its economic crisis. Trump administration officials say the sanctions will remain until the government of President Emmerson Mnangagwa changes Zimbabwe's laws restricting media freedom and allowing protests. US, UK, and EU sanctions on Zimbabwe target individuals and the ban trade in weapons and directs government assistance for non-humanitarian programs. Still in Zimbabwe, the country's Reserve Bank has borrowed almost $1 billion from African banks to purchase fuel and other critical imports. Reserve Bank Governor John Mangudia said current reserves is insufficient to cover imports, underscoring the severity of dollar shortages. So the central bank has borrowed from banks in neighboring countries, including the Central Bank of Mozambique and the Southern African Trade and Development Bank. The governor said the loans with up to 6% above the labor rate will be prepaid from future gold earnings between 3 and 5 years. Zimbabwe is unable to obtain funding from the World Bank and other international lenders because of massive arrears. Kenya's Health Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki and Council of Governors Chairperson Wycliffe Oparanya have announced that all nurses will now be hired on contract basis to fill vacant nursing positions in national and county government. They said this was in line with an agreement reached during the 7th National and County Government Coordinating Summit on Monday. The Secretary and Chairperson expressed confidence that court-order pay negotiations between the government and health workers will be fruitful and will end perennial nurses' strikes. The two arms of government also indicated that disciplinary proceedings will still be instituted against nurses who failed to resume duty on February the 15th as ordered by the court. The nurses in the 47 county governments had gone on strike early February, demanding better salaries. The court suspended the strike for 60 days. President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered them to resume work or face termination. Some of them failed to obey the order. A key peace deal to resolve the conflict in the Central African Republic is at risk of collapsing under a month after it was agreed through military groups which were among the 14 armed groups that signed the Khartoum agreement with President Faustin Todera, a set of disagreed with the makeup of the new government announced on Sunday. The militias were not happy that the central government held on to sensitive key posts, while 6 of the 14 armed groups obtained no posts at all. The Democratic Front of the Central African People said it had decided to simply withdraw from the peace process. It added that the government was far from being inclusive. Another large militia, the Patriotic Movement for Central Africa, said it considered the accord void. A British museum says it will return a lock of hair the Ethiopian government considers a national treasure. BBC reports the hair was cut from the head of Emperor Tewodros II, who died during the British invasion of Ethiopia in 1868. The announcement comes at the end of the commemorations marking 150 years since the Battle of Magdala. The so-called Napier expedition saw thousands of soldiers deployed to face Emperor Tewodros II. The campaign reached the emperor's fortress at Magdala in 1868, but rather than become a prisoner, the emperor took his own life. British forces left with manuscripts, crowns, crosses, religious icons, royal and religious vestments, and shield and arms. When we return, we'll tell you about efforts by the U.S. House of Reps to get evidence from more than 800 persons and entities in its investigation of Donald Trump. And later, sport. Mikel Obi left out of Super Eagles squad for final of 2019 AFCON qualifiers.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is NN News. Now to events around the world. Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido is back in the country despite concerns about his safety and the likelihood of being detained. At a rally in Caracas, Guaido urged supporters to intensify their campaign to topple the government of President Nicolas Maduro. At a rally on Saturday, Guaido called for massive protest and said he would meet Tuesday with public employee unions controlled by Maduro's government. The president retains the support of military generals despite the desertion of hundreds of lower-ranking military personnel. 45 persons have been killed after heavy rains, flash floods and snowfall hit different parts of Pakistan and Afghanistan. At least 9 persons were reportedly killed in Pakistan's federally administered tribal areas, 3 killed in the Khyber province and 13 in Balochistan, where at least 9 districts were affected by the floods. The rain started on Saturday and hit large parts of the province, killing 13 and injuring 12. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs confirms more than 1,000 houses, patches of land, schools, mosques and government buildings were damaged. Kandahar's Deputy Governor Abdulhanan Monib says the flooding was the worst in 7 years. The flood waters had swept away nomadic herders camped in the area. Their livestock was consumed as well by the flood. After spending more than 3 months in a Japanese jail, Carlos Goshin could soon be a free man. Tokyo District Court said on Tuesday the former chief of Nissan Automobiles could be released on a $10 million bail. He will agree to remain in Japan and be prevented from seeking to destroy evidence. Prosecutors have appealed the decision, making it uncertain when he might be let out. The auto executive is awaiting trial on charges he understated his income and abused his position by transferring personal investment losses to the Japanese car maker. Goshin is the side of denied all charges. If found guilty, he could face as many as 15 years in prison. Congressional Democrats have escalated their investigation of President Donald Trump, further tightening the news around him. They're asking for information about Trump's business and political dealings and his communications with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jared Nadler says his panel had served document requests to 81 agencies, entities and individuals as part of the House inquiry into potential obstruction of justice, corruption and abuses of power by Trump. Navla says over the last several years, President Trump has evaded accountability for his near-daily attacks on our basic legal, ethical, and constitutional rules and norms. He says Congress must provide a check on abuses of power. The U.S. plans to end preferential trade status for India under a scheme which allows certain products to enter the U.S. duty-free. President Donald Trump says India has failed to assure the U.S. it would provide reasonable access to its market. India says the U.S. would have a minimal economic impact. Trump says the U.S. will also end Turkey's preferential trade status, saying it no longer qualifies. It is the latest U.S. attempt to counter what he sees as unfair trade practices. Trump has pledged to reduce U.S. trade deficits and has repeatedly criticized India for high tariffs. He has directed the U.S. Trade Representative's office to remove India from a program that grants its preferential trade treatments. In a letter to Congress, the U.S. president said India has not assured the United States that it will provide equitable and reasonable access to its markets. Still ahead, sports. Mikel Obi left out of Super Eagles squad for final of 2019 AFCON qualifiers. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Looking for some Disney magic but don't know where to find it? We've got a magical solution just for you. Simply go to DisneyNigeria.mobi and get an exciting selection of games, short videos, wallpapers, shareables, and more. Explore a whole new world of Disney on your mobile, tablet, or PC. For just 200 Naira monthly, you get to enjoy the fun to infinity and beyond. SMS Disney to 11006 to begin. Terms and conditions apply. This service is only available to MTN customers.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to sports. Captain John Mikel Obi is the most notable absentee from Nigeria's squad for the final 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier and a friendly against Egypt later this month. The 31-year-old, who has been impressive at English Championship club Middlesbrough, has not played for Nigeria since the captain the Super Eagles at last year's World Cup in Russia. Despite public assurances from coach General the Mikel would make a return, the player has been left out of the 23-man squad for the 2-match home fixtures in Asaba later this month. Gabon coach Daniel Cousin has settled his wage dispute with his country's sports ministry after formally signing a contract to take charge of the Panthers until the end of this year's Africa Cup of Nations campaign. Cousin has been working with a written contract since his appointment as Gabon coach in September last year. With local media reporting he had not received a salary, the new deal gives 42-year-old Cousin security as he aims to qualify the team for the 2019 Nations Cup in Egypt. That's the news this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit our website annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.